Okay, so today we're going to be learning about the standard equation of a circle. The form for the standard equation of a circle is x minus h, the quantity squared, plus y minus k, the quantity squared, equals r squared. H, k are the coordinates of the center of the circle, and r is the radius. So you guys need to memorize this equation. So highlight it, put stars around it, make yourself flashcards, whatever you have to do, you need to memorize that equation. Alrighty, so basically in order to write the equation of a circle, all you need to know is where is the center and what's the radius. So if I look at the graph that they've given me here, this one's pretty easy. The center is at 0, 0, right? And the radius, I can just count, is 2 units. So the radius is equal to 2. So then you just plug it into the standard form. X minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 2 squared. Well, x minus 0 is just x, so you can simplify it to x squared plus y squared equals 4. And so that would be the standard equation for the circle whose graph we have. And it's that easy. Okay, so on your whiteboards, I want you guys to write the equation for this circle. Notice that each of the lines is worth 2, though, so be careful. And same thing when you guys do the work in the book. Sometimes they make the lines worth more than just 1 unit, so. All right, looks like most of you had it. The center was still at the origin, so we end up with x squared plus y squared. And then you had to count 2, 4, 6 for the radius. 6 squared was 36. Okay, any questions there? Everybody got that okay, right? Yeah. Yeah, all right. Alrighty, next page. Let's cover that up. Here we go. Okay, so sometimes they're going to be really nice and they're just going to give it to you. Write the standard equation of a circle with a center at 0, negative 5, and a radius of 3.7. Okay, so again, really all you have to do is you just have your x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So if I do x minus 0, and then it's going to be y minus negative 5 equals 3.7 squared. So the x minus 0 squared just turns into x squared. And because it's y minus negative 5, it becomes y plus 5, quantity squared. And then 3.7 times 3.7 is 13.69. And so that would be the equation for that circle.
Do you want to factor?
No, we're not doing any factoring at this point. When you guys get to Algebra 2, they will give you the equation essentially already all multiplied out, and you're going to have to work backwards and factor it using completing the square. But you won't have to do that yet. But you'll be doing it next year in Algebra 2.
Yes.
All right, so here's one for you guys to try on your own. Write the standard equation of a circle with a center at negative 3, negative 5, and a radius of 6.1. Okay, so we had x minus negative 3, so that becomes x plus 3 squared. Y minus negative 5 becomes y plus 5 squared, and then 6.1 squared was 37.21, right? Okay. All right. Now we're going to add something else to it here. All right, so now I have the point negative 3, 4 that's on the circle, and the center is at negative 1, 2. And we're going to write the standard equation of the circle. So they gave me the center, but they didn't give me the radius, did they? Did they get me enough information to find the radius, though? Yes, they did. How can I find the radius? Connect those 2 points, and then I heard it quietly over here. Was it you? No. I could have sworn I heard somebody say the distance formula. Okay. Yeah, we can use the distance formula, or you can also use the Pythagorean theorem, which, yeah. So that's easier since they already gave it to us on a graph. So, so this x here is going to just be the square root of 2 squared plus 2 squared. And actually, what kind of a triangle is that? If yes, it's a 45, 45, 90. So it would just be 2 root 2. I know it's a 45, 45, 90 because the legs are congruent. But you could still do it the long way. 2 squared and 2 squared is 8, and then you simplify to 2 root 2. Either way, my radius is 2 root 2. So now I have enough information, I can write the equation. And so x minus negative 1 becomes x plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared. And then if I square 2 root 2, it's just going to be 8. Which actually, now that I think about it, did I actually have to find the radius? I actually just had to find the radius squared, didn't I? So back here, what I could have done is just left it as x squared equals 2 squared plus 2 squared. Because that's really what I need, is it's squared, right? And so you don't even have to worry about taking the square root and then re-squaring it if you don't want to. Okay. All right, but they're not always going to be nice and give you a picture. Sometimes you're going to have to figure it out without a picture. So here we've got the point negative 1, 2 is on the circle, and the center as at 3, negative 3. Write the standard equation. So for this one, you can either graph it and use the Pythagorean theorem. You still can do that. Or you can use the distance formula.
Graph it.
You guys have graph paper? Go for it, if you would prefer to graph it. But first thing you need to do is figure out the radius, or at least the radius squared.
I got that. Got that.
Okay, so to find the radius, we're using the distance formula. So it's the change in x squared plus the change in y squared. So when I went from negative 1 to 3, how far did I go? I went like 4 units. Then when I went from 2 to negative 3, I went 5 units. So 4 squared plus 5 squared is 16 plus 25, which is, we end up with the square root of 41. Okay, now that you've found the radius, you need to use the center. So make sure you choose the right point when you write the equation. So the center, this is your h, and this is your k. You just plug it into x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Now you just plug everything in, okay? So you end up with x minus 3 squared. Oops, that's a really ugly squared. And then it ends up being y plus 3 because minus a negative equals 41. Okay? All right. Any questions? All right. Also, let me just make a note that if they give you 2 points on a circle, like if they tell you that they're the endpoints of the diameter, because you might see a problem like that, then how could I find the center? You're on the right track. if I tell you that this point and this point are the endpoints of a diameter, how could I figure out where the center is? Cut it in half, and what do you call that midpoint? It's the midpoint, right? So you would just find the middle or the midpoint of that segment, okay? And then if you could either find the length of the whole thing and cut it in half, or once you found the midpoint, you could find the distance from the midpoint to one of the points on the circle to figure out the radius, okay? So you might see a problem like that too, all right? Okay, so now for this one, uh-oh, my point got erased. No, here's the problem. I didn't get rid of my circle. All right, there we go. Okay, the equation of the circle is negative x minus 2 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 16. So now you're just going to work the other direction and figure out what's the center and what's the radius. So the center on this one, it's a positive 2 and a negative 3, because remember it had to be x minus h and y minus k. So h is a positive 2, k had to have been a negative 3, and then of course this is our r squared, so radius is the square root of 16, or 4. So now if I go over to my graph, I find the center point at 2, negative 3, and then my radius is 4, so I can just count 4 horizontally in each direction, and then vertically also 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and then you can just draw a circle going through those points. And your circle might not be perfect, but that's okay. So that's how you graph them. Any questions there? Alrighty, your turn to graph a circle. So the equation for you guys is x plus 2, the quantity squared, plus y minus 1, the quantity squared, equals 9. So first, figure out what your center is, figure out what your radius is, and then graph it. Alright, so AJ, where's the center? Negative 2 and 1. Michaela, what's the radius? 3. So we just go to negative 2, positive 1, and then we count 3 in each direction. And do the best we can to draw a circle. And there you have it. And now you guys know how to write the equation of a circle.